First off, let me just say, I was wrong. When I reviewed the trailer for Transformers 1, I was skeptical, and I voiced my skepticism based on things that I thought were important at the time. The original voices were not there, and it seemed weird to me. Instead, it was Chris Hemsworth and Keegan-Michael Key. I had a fear about what they would do to ruin the Transformers story I had grown up with as a kid. Also, the trailer, it wasn't terrible, but it didn't make me very excited to see the movie. It didn't make me feel like I needed to rush out or get tickets or really be anticipating this film. But again, I was wrong. Now, the only showing in English on opening day was at 8:40 p.m. in a VIP experience theater, so I took it. And I could not have been happier with the film. Now, I'm a child of the 80s, a true child of the 80s. The Transformers are an integral part of what I loved growing up. Now, I'm not a Transformer expert as far as the lore is concerned within all the different continuities, but as far as the original cartoon and the original run of the comics and the original wave of toys, yeah, consider myself well-versed. Transformers 1 did a great job integrating that original content into this 100% CGI animated film. Now, let me say that last part again, because I think it's important. This is an animated film, and it's probably geared towards kids, so there are a couple of plot points that rely heavily, massively on coincidence, to the point of absurdity. But if you're going to see this film, you got to be okay with these plot issues in the beginning. Just accept them and enjoy the rest of the ride. Remember, this is a kid's film. This is not Citizen Kane. And if you're like me, you're middle-aged, and you shouldn't be complaining about these things right now. What I did not know about this film until the opening credits is that this is a Steven Spielberg and Michael Bay production. Say what you will, those are two names that means there's going to be some financial backing to the project, so I took that as an overall plus. A quick rundown of the plot. Again, trying to keep it spoiler-free. Most of what I'm going to tell you can see in the trailers, but Orion Pax and D16, the future Optimus and Megatron, are miners for Energon. The Transformers live underground. The surface is not safe anymore. Orion Pax and D16, along with the majority of Transformers, do not have transforming cogs, so they are considered second-class citizens. Sentinel Prime is the leader. All other Primes are dead from a surface war with the Quintessons, which saw the loss of the Matrix of Leadership as well. Now, Orion is obsessed with helping Sentinel Prime find the Matrix of Leadership and gets himself into a lot of trouble trying to do so, which also involves getting D16 into trouble, who is more straight-laced and fond of following protocol, way more than Orion. They enter the Iacon City 5000, a race, to prove their worth as miners, Transformers without a cog, but it only gets them into more trouble. They're sent to the depths of Cybertron to be garbage men. Orion and D16 meet Bumblebee, whose job is literally watching garbage burn. Through a series of coincidences, they discover a map that has the last known location of the Matrix of Leadership on the surface of Cybertron. The three stow away on a garbage train that will take them to the surface, and this is where Elita 1 is dragged into everything. Now, we've seen her before in the movie, but she was their former boss, and she got demoted because of their incompetence. The four make it to the surface. They realize that it's both beautiful and dangerous. They meet up with the last living Prime, Alpha Trion, who gives them cogs to become true Transformers. He tells them the truth about their history, and from there the cracks in the friendship between D16 and Orion Pax begin to form. Now, I'll leave the rest of the plot to be figured out from there because I don't want to spoil it for anyone. But with the extended trailers and the cutscenes online already, you could pretty much piece together the rest of the story. Beyond that, how do we judge an animated film? Well, three things. Does it look and sound great? Is the voice acting done well? And does it get you involved enough in the story to make you forget that this is an animated feature? So let's take those questions one at a time. Number one, does it look and sound great? Yeah, it looked fantastic on the big screen. At times kind of trippy, but always crisp, clear, a lot of definition up front, but still, it also had teams at ILM who were put specifically on background animation to make sure that the vast landscapes of Iacon City and the surface of Cybertron were rendered as well as they could possibly be rendered. I had zero issues with the animation. It was fresh, yet it maintained a veneer of the original style of the original cartoon, with a little bit of solid matte areas brushed in for depth and texture. The gloomy underground of Iacon City juxtaposed perfectly with the sprawling natural settings of the surface world, and really helped to define the time and conflict Transformers 1 takes place within. Now, the battle scenes and the one-on-one combat scenes are outright amazing to watch. You can quickly go from a large battle between armies in the sky to two individual Transformers scrapping it out. Everything was fluid, smooth, crystal clear. The animation and the choreography blended perfectly. Now, the other half of that coin is the audio, the music, the sound effects. The creation of the perception of depth and distance with that sound was spot on. You felt as if the animators and the effects artists that worked on this film were the A-team. Everyone was on top of their game. So as far as how it looked and how it sounded, zero issues all around, with the exception of one little one, which we'll get to when we get to the voice acting. So here we are. Question 2. Is the voice acting done well? So I'll start with my biggest complaint, Chris Hemsworth. While 75% of the time he does a fine job as Optimus Prime or Orion Pax, he does not kill it. He's not an amazing voice actor in this film. But he doesn't shit the bed either. But my issue with Hemsworth is that during a few moments, ones that were more contemplative, his voice was too low and he was a little bit mumbly. So I missed a few lines of dialogue here and there. And that would be my one complaint about the audio throughout the entire film, is that Chris decided to mumble and I missed a few lines. Now, Brian Tyree Henry was great as D16, the future Megatron. He was funny when he needed to be funny, he was serious when he needed to be serious, and he was able to oscillate his tone of voice perfectly to match the changes in Megatron's outlook and attitude towards his fellow Transformers. He was absolutely convincing in the role, and I felt like he understood the character, the motivations, the goals, why he is the way he is. So I think one of the best acting jobs in the entire film belongs to Brian Tyree Henry. Now, Scarlett Johansson, who plays Alita 1, did a fine job as well. I mean, it's ScarJo. She's not screwing up something that involves her second most iconic asset, her voice. Alita was not a necessary part of the story. That's the thing. She could not have been there and things would have been exactly the same. I think she was there for the female demographic and a little bit of girl bossing. Not a lot, just a little. But fine. She's serviceable. She's a good character. She's just not a necessary one. Now, she does have my favorite insult within the whole film when she insults Optimus, Megatron, and Bumblebee by calling them GoBots. I spit out my soda on that one, and she had a few others. No one is immune from her name calling throughout the entire film. And yes, before I go too far into this, there are plenty of inside jokes. Most of them are in the form of sarcasm, and they're for the 80s Transformers fans. Like I said earlier, Spielberg and Bay made sure to include us in the final product. And this brings us to our fourth and final main character, Bumblebee, voiced by Keegan-Michael Kay. He steals the show. He's laugh out loud funny. About 5 or 6 times I laughed out loud from the moment we met Bumblebee to his final post-credit scene. And yes, there are 2 post-credit scenes, one almost immediately and the second all the way to the end. But back to B, he's the comic relief and he's also given some great scenes. And he's probably my favorite character throughout the entire film. Now, Megatron would be the other scene stealer, and for different reasons. Mostly because of his transformation and how you witness his change from friend and ally to outright enemy filled with hatred. You know it's coming. But still, when it happens, you're 9 years old again. And what better credit could I give the movie than that? And spoiler alert here for this one part, because I think it's important to have a spoiler alert in case you don't want to hear it. Ready? Okay. When Optimus Prime has received the Matrix leadership, and he rises to meet Megatron, who is full-blown villain at this point, and Megatron, for the first time, announces himself to the rest of Cybertron as Megatron, not D16, and the two of them square off for their first battle. Like I said, you too will de-age back to 8, 9, 10 years old, whatever you were back in 1984. And that's the magic of this movie. That's what made this movie so great for people of all ages. All right, spoiler alert over. Finally, question 3. Do we forget that we're watching an animated film? I think I already answered that. In a packed theater, something you don't see in Mexico for animated movies, not Pixar or Disney, a packed theater of American expats looking to see their childhood on the big screen. Yeah, we were all invested in the film. There were even some audible hell yeahs and all rights coming from other audience members when there was a reveal or an introduction of another Transformer. After about 10 minutes in, we all stopped thinking to ourselves, this is an animated film. We were watching Transformers and we were having a blast doing it. Now, bonus question. What about my favorite Transformer? Are they in the film? All right, a little bit of a spoiler here, but again, you can see a lot of what I'm going to talk about in the trailers, a lot about what I'm going to talk about in the extended cutscenes that are all on YouTube. There are other Transformers from the original era in the film. Here's a quick list of them. Mute now if you don't want to know. Also, some of them are just in for a quick second and then they're gone. All right, here it is. You get to meet Jazz, Ironhide, Ratchet, Shockwave, or as Alita 1 calls him, Blinky. Again, laughed my ass off at that joke. Soundwave, Starscream, voiced by Steve Buscemi, and really, isn't he the perfect person for that role? And finally, Sentinel Prime, who plays a big role in the plot. Now, a lot of these Transformers are in their original pre-Earth form, so they look like the original cartoon that we saw back in the 80s. Now, I've always been a Shockwave and Soundwave guy, so I was stoked. I wish we got a little bit of Rumble and Laserbeak, but you cannot have everything. So if you are a Transformers fan and you've been waiting for this film, yet you've been skeptical since the release of the trailer, I think you can put those fears away. It's well crafted, it's well acted, it's entertaining and full of nostalgia that honors the legacy of the IP. Transformers 1 is a film that will satisfy OG fans from the 80s while bringing in new ones for this generation. And that's what I think. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Do you plan on seeing Transformers 1? If you already have, what did you think? And who is your favorite Transformer? Like I said, I'm a Shockwave and a Soundwave guy. Also, if you want more movie reviews and commentary, click on the link in the description for my general movie review playlist and my retro movie review playlist. As well, if you like this video, we'd appreciate it if you hit the like button, subscribe, comment, share it out. All of that really helps us out at the channel each week. We thank you for watching. Remember, I'm still your Reluctant Gringo, and from south of the border, salut and a huevo.